And on that note, we're going to get everything started here this evening. First of all, welcome to everybody being here. Thank you guys for being here. Hopefully, I was going to have some videos out today. I instead opted to do a live stream because, my God, it has been raining for, my God, like, I think it's like 12 or 13 days at this point. Had a tornado come by. I was actually in the shop setting up, ready to film, and I heard some boom booms, and I'm like, I need to check. And we had one hell of a squall line, tornado a couple miles away, but it was the sirens went off, and it was enough for me to have to run into the can and hide in the bunker. So we canceled filming for the afternoon, and so I decided to do a live stream instead. It has been a hell of a week. If you guys have been on Patreon, like I said, you know that we have been working like a madman singular. It's just been me putting all this stuff together, and you can see from behind me the new office is ready. The lighting still sucks a little bit because I moved all the lighting out to the shop to do the filming today. So right now we have a single lonely lampstand with one light bulb and no backlighting. So we're just going to have to actually end up and deal with what we've got here. But all right, for those of you that are new, here's the opening intro. Again, my name is Trenton Ty, and we'll be discussing swages this evening. I usually try to take 10 or 15 minutes to talk about swages, what they are, and then we open the floor for questions and answers. Questions can be about anything relating to the topic we're discussing, blacksmithing in general, whatever you want to talk about, and I try to get to everybody's questions before we end the stream. This is starting on my second week of being a quote unquote, or second month of being a quote unquote professional YouTuber again. It's pretty unreal. We're pushing hard on those numbers, and like I said, and money makes the world go round. So if you guys have an opportunity to support the stream, in the link description, there is a link to a donation if you'd like to put in a few dollars toward the stream. If you are really interested in supporting the work, becoming a Patreon, there's lots of behind the scenes content that comes with that. And when I mean behind the scenes content, I mean I turn on my phone and you get to see my underwear hanging off my lamp. And if you're curious about actually doing some of the blacksmith work, you can always purchase my book, Trenton's Guide to Love, Blacksmithing, and Riches, on my website, TrentonTodd.com, all of which the links are in the description. Okay. Fantastic. Well, this evening we are looking at swage blocks. And the simple question is, what the hell is a swage block? So, ever since there have been blacksmiths, there have been swage blocks. Now, here's a bit of a problem because the term itself is what you've got to end up defining. Oh, already 50 Yang Pro. Thank you. Wonder if you'll ever be able to find a hammer. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Oh, and if you did not notice, the chat is incredibly more responsive now. Having to be able to do some more settings. The thing's very responsive now, so we're not waiting 30 minutes for a comment to come out before I can actually answer it. So fantastic. Anyway, thank you again, man. $5 goes a long way. Believe it or not, it all adds up. Swage blocks. Swage blocks have been around since blacksmiths have been around. And if you want to define the term of swage, is pretty much anything that is a bottom tool in general. Now, here's the thing. There's going to be plenty of people out there that as soon as I give a definition, somebody's going to raise their hand and they're going to go, actually, so understand that it's kind of like how you spell twir iron. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of contradicting information out there. So you kind of have to use this more as guidelines than rules. In general, a swage is going to be a bottom tool. There's a top tool and a bottom tool if you have a hardy tool set. Let's say that you're making a round bar. If you have a hardy tool that goes in the back of the anvil that has a half a round, and then you have a top tool is called a top tool. Usually the bottom is called a swage. It is usually something that goes in the anvil or some type of base that is used to shape the metal in some shape, form, or fashion. Now, as we got a little more industrial, instead of having a bunch of bottom tools, what they ended up coming up with was basically a giant block that was basically an amalgamation of 20 or 30 different bottom tools, and this block could be rotated in different shapes and have different contours for doing all different types of work. A lot of the times the Swage blocks had matching top tools that went with them. So it wouldn't be just a situation of where you'd have a Swage block, you would actually have all the tools that went with it. Most of the time today, the blocks are just used as they are, but in the real shops, in the big shops back in the day, you had matching hand tools. Okay, so let's take a quick look at some of the Swages that are out there. There's a lot of different patterns out there. These things are usually cast today out of what they call ductile iron. So it's pretty much a 20th century type or 21st century type thing. Yeah, that's right, 19th, 20th century type thing. It's going to be a situation where they're normally going to be small, especially because they've been using in the hobby end of it. The original Swage blocks in the late 1800s and early 1900s could get huge, but let's take a look at it. And check this out. Wait, hang on, wait, watch this, watch this. Whoa, 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 whoa. Damn it, hang on. Okay, there we are. Sorry about that, guys. All right. Like I said, still setting this crap up. You guys are always my test group here. So I actually, when you swap the scenes, you actually have to end up making sure you have the audio for all of them set. So yeah, it's almost magic. It's semi magic. Okay, let's start over. So here's a selection of different swages out here. This is a very common one right here. Normally, the ones that you buy from Centaur Forge or Pay Tool or places like that, all of them are going to have a couple of spoon depressions in them. They're also usually going to have a shovel depression in them. These are relatively modern, so it's a situation. These aren't super old. However, when you go back into time a little bit, again to the late 1800s, you start getting into some wild stuff like this. This is a pretty big one. It's not the biggest one. There are some monsters out there. The ones that we had in Andersonville were almost, I would say, either 3 foot by 3 foot or 4 foot by 4 foot. They were monsters. Of course, that's not usually what we're going to be working with. Normally, we're going to be working with small ones. Let's see if I can't find a giant one. Here's a big one. No, that's not terrible. That's 17 inches. Again, you can see these things were used in a couple different ways. If you see up here on top, you can see if this guy was rolled over, it was basically using several different sizes of bottom tools. However, all this stuff here in the middle, if you laid this block down, you could use this not only for bending purposes, but you could also use this as a tool holder for stake anvils and things of that nature. All kinds of stuff like that. Let's see what else we got here. Let's check this one out. This is also, I cannot, oh my God. So this is actually a pair of Centaur Forge blocks. These are relatively common, and I cannot believe they're saying $700 for the two of those. Hang on a second, guys. I got to check something. Pricing with a lot of these things has just been stupid as of lately, and I mean I see a lot of stuff advertised, and it is so incredibly expensive or just stupidly priced. Let's see, tools, gas forge, hammer, digger. This is a terrible. There we go. Well, it looks like I am. It looks like I am in the wrong here. They're actually selling these guys for $520. I am aghast. I cannot believe that's the price there for a new Swage block. Wow. So most of the time, if I had found a Swage block or things of that nature, I mean maybe $100. I think Laurel Foundry out in Louisiana had them for like $150. That's pretty ridiculous. I don't. And that is literally a 12 by 12 inch swage block. Don't pay that much for a swage block. That's ridiculous. At least I'm saying that now. I could be wrong. I could be operating on old information, but it's a mess. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go back. Oh, there's Roy. So apparently Roy has got. I can't know if he's done one like that. Huh. I guess he made that one. There's a lot of them out there that can be made, but most of these guys are normally going to be out of cast iron. I cannot. I'm still kind of stunned on exactly how expensive that was. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Let's check out this bad boy. Woo-hoo-hoo! All right, so like I said, I was talking about big ones here. I'm not. This looks like it has been plasma cut. It water jet cut. So this is a new giant one that has been water jet cut. $4,500. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh. So anyway, these bad boys typically are pretty expensive, but they are handy for the professional smith. Now, one of the things that you need to realize about these swage blocks is they are super handy for professional smiths. If you're sizing a lot of steel, they are super useful. But here's the problem is, back in the day, steel usually did not come in anywhere close to the size that you need it to be. So you had to spend a lot of time resizing the steel to get it to where you need. We really don't have to do that anymore simply because we have modern machinery and the modern industrial base that we have. So the swage block becomes a lot less effective at that. Now, for me in the shop, I get a lot of use at it because especially on, let's show you, if you will look at this one right here, you see these round concentric pieces here? This is super handy for me when I'm actually trying to roll sockets and things of this nature. A lot of times that this is used as a bottom tool more than a forming tool, or excuse me, it's more as a forming tool than a bottom tool. These are usually not making specific forms for me on the edge, but just helping me bend something to get it close to where I want it. And then of course here, and almost all of your swage blocks have these type of depressions. These are normally for spoons or dishes or whatnot. I've never used them very much. I have used the larger soup spoons, but I don't make a lot of ladles. I'm not sure. There just doesn't seem to be a run on ladles out there. So let's see. Let's check over at Blacksmith Depot. Let's see how much this is, bad boy. $325. Wow. Wow. So, like I said, they can be used for a lot of different things, but clearly they have gone up in price as well as the anvils, and I am just staggered at what they are selling for. So, how does this affect you? If you're a beginner or you're not a professional, this is not a high-demand item. It can be useful. It certainly can be handy. But if you're a knife maker, you pretty much are going to have no need for this thing. This tool is a forming tool that's going to be used for the majority of your architectural smiths. Now, when I'm making hardware, things of this stage, especially colonial hardware, the thing does come in handy for doing some very particular bends and being able to scooch stuff. And it's handy and convenient in one spot. Ooh, excuse me. So, but again, the neat thing about this is that if you're really getting into making your own tooling, you'll be able to make all of the bottom tools that you'll need. You'll be able to remake this. If you can find one of these guys that's relatively cheap, and I mean cheap, $100 or so, probably worth the money to pick it up on that end of it. However, it is, oh, am I out of the mic? How about that? Rotate it here. Watch this. Try that again. There we go. A little bit better. I forget this is, I'm used to having the lavalier there. Anyway, it's not going to be something that's going to be super handy for the knife maker, but if you have the opportunity to pick one up, especially if you're going to be making fireplace tools, you can find one that's got a fireplace shovel on it, that can be handy. So I kind of ran into this problem myself because if you've ever seen, well, you've seen the other videos of the shovels that I've made, and those shovels are actually folded steel. Jay made shovels like that simply because he didn't have a form like this. Now, had he had a form, he probably would have used it, but Jay always liked to do stuff a little bit differently. So, can be handy. Certainly not worth $600. That is just absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. Why is crap so expensive? All right. Oh, there are a couple of I want to show you though. There's some pretty cool ones. There are a lot of, and I think these are some ones that have been, these are relatively new ones. A trunnion swage block. There are several flavors I have seen that are usually just kind of one off. But instead of having to pick one up and manhandle it, they actually rotate on an axis like this one. And I've seen much bigger ones than this one as well. Let's do a quick a Google search here. See what we can't find. Swage block. Trunnion. Okay. There was a monster I saw somewhere a little bit ago. Now check this out. See right there where that one's being used to hold a pexto stake? These things are pretty heavy, so they do act as a good base for stuff. And if you're twisting pieces, they're pretty handy too. However, the only thing about these, to really get a lot of the work out of them, you have to come up with some pretty crazy stands to really be able to handle these things easily. Otherwise, they are a monkey and a half to deal with. Even the one that I have is about 100 pounds. It's not comfortable to pick up and flip around. And if it's anything bigger than that, you're going to be in super trouble. Now, how do you spell this damn thing? Nobody knows. I have seen it spelled S-W-A-G-E. I have seen it spelled S-W-A-G. Again, it's kind of like trying to spell Tweer iron. Good God, look at this thing. $4,200. Boy, there's a lot of people got more money than I do. Holy crap almighty. All right. Well, enough scrolling the internet. Let's get back over this way. All right. So, where are we at? We're in there. Oh, that's a pretty quick one. Swag block. Yeah. I was wondering if there are any other spellings outside of Swage or Swage or again, I've heard a lot of people kind of work with it. So, well, that's about it. Swage blocks are going to be something that can be handy to the hardware enthusiast, but not too handy to the knife maker. And clearly, they are expensive as crap. Cool tool, just my God, they're expensive. Why would I just? These are such a limited use item. I cannot understand how they are so damned expensive. I'm really blown away by that. I mean, some things like anvils, everybody sees Forged in Fire and they see an anvil, so anvil prices go up. I got that. But swage blocks, really? Like I said, just nobody uses the damn things. Why are they so expensive? Crazy. Anyway, all right. Well, we're just gonna kind of make that what it is, and that's what the hell a swage block is. So we've only been at this for about 10 minutes, but we've got a lot of folks in here, almost 82 people. So thank you guys for being here. So we're just going to go ahead and kick this into the Q&A section of the video. If you guys are just getting in here or you new, here's how it works. If you have a question about this topic, any topic in blacksmithing, you get to ask whatever you like. TV shows, everything, anything related, just have at it, put it there in the comments. And we will go from there, and now make sure to get to them. And D Baca there is absolutely correct. Only 34 likes, guys. Again, we're just starting out. When you hit those particular buttons, it helps tremendously. So please take the take a moment. Take a moment for me. Please just hit the button. Hit the button. Don't cost you nothing. All right, let's see who's all here. We got all kind of folks in here. Got Brandon Metcalf, She Who Smuggles Balloons, Mark Spice, Clem Walton, Corey Shear, Mark Spice, Corey Shear. There's a lot of Corys in here tonight. A lot of Marks. Larry Jones, Brad McCormick, Adam Kerr, Wayne Morey, Ronald Kirby, Brian Neely, veteran Ironwood, all familiar names. Ticonderoga is here. Nathan Hawkins. All right, who else we got down this way? Mike Hunges, Lighthammer Forge is back. Paul Fontanini is here. Neil Graham. Okay, where are we getting down here? Actually, it's Swage. Oh my gosh, let me tell you. Evie is here. Chris Murray, I got your book last week. Liking a lot. Thinks definitely worth the 20-ish it was. Hey, thank you for buying the book, Chris. I got a stack of them over here I've got to send out this week. Thank you guys for buying the books. It has helped tremendously. Like I said, I'm glad that I wrote that thing, and it's, yeah, thank you for buying the book. Veteran Ironwood, before I had a Swage block, all I thought was my kingdom for a Swage block. I bought one and then proceeded not to use it for 4 months. However, when I did need it, it was indispensable. You know, you're gonna find that works for a lot of tools. In fact, Jay used to talk about this. He says, you know, it's one of those tools that you don't need but one time a year, but when you need it, you need it. There's no two ways about it. Wayne Morey, excellent question. If you started over, what would you do differently? Wayne, you know, I think the biggest, if I could start over, I would learn how to learn more effectively. You know, when I got started, there wasn't an internet. You know, we had just a few books on things like that, and I did not realize the importance of travel when it came to blacksmithing. And now blacksmiths did. You know, this is what the whole journeyman program was. I can mark a very specific point when my entire business platform changed is when I got invited to go out to California and work with a very beautiful lady smith named Jill Turman. Jill had me come out and I worked with her and her two apprentices. And Jill's very skilled, little bitty woman, smokes a lot, but beautiful woman. And when I got out there, there was this weird thing. I'm going to tell you that I was most likely a better smith than anybody in that shop. But here's the difference. I was broke and didn't have any work. And this lady was doing killer business. And that's when I finally understood that there's a difference between the hobby work and the professional work. And I owe that all to Jill Turman for showing me that. I mean, it was upsetting me because I was good at what I was doing, but these people were making their living. And that's when it finally clicked. And it took too long to get to that point. So I think the biggest thing I can say, if I started over, I'd figure out how to learn and what the difference between a hobby and a business was. All right. 'Tis but 1 acres. Jake is here. All right. Nikki Hughes is here. Dave Harrison, first live stream I managed to catch. Hello from the other side of the pond. Mr. Dave, thank you for being here. I've been trying to push things a little bit earlier because I've got a lot of folks here watching from the other side of the pond, but thank you for being here. Thank you for staying up late. Joey Vandersteeg is here. Who's that? Who's that again? Jeff Killian is here, 410. Matthew Freer, new, absolutely. Is Paul Fontanini in relation to Steve of Rat Hole Forge? That sounds like a loaded question. Brian Dormany, when we're going to play some Among Us, got to get you some of that sweet Twitch money. I want to tell you, you know, we play a lot of video. I've always been a gamer, and like I said, everybody's making that money on that end of it. But I don't know. I play games to enjoy myself. That's not my job. That's my recreation. And I wouldn't be playing Among Us. That's so casual. We'd be doing some hardcore Rust, maybe some Deep Rock Galactic. I don't know. Ronald Kirby, can you use 2400 degree refractory for a ribbon burner? Mr. Kirby, there is a famous saying here on this particular live stream that it's kind of like slamming your wiener in the sliding glass door. You can, but why would you? You'll probably get 4 or 5 burns off of it, but it's very quickly going to degrade. It's not worth the time and the effort. You're going to need to use the higher stuff. Sky Biesel, hello from Oregon. Doc Rorschach is here for a live chat. Let's see. You looks like everybody's beating me to it. Wayne Morey, great. Thank you, Trent. You are welcome, man. Mark Goggin, have you thought about doing a couple blades on the show to up the interest in the channel? Mark, I've got a lot of stuff I've planned out on that end of it. Some interesting things. It's been kind of crazy, getting everything the house done. So I've got quite a list of some cool stuff we're going to do. And again, the big news is we may be working with a museum to start doing some things that are kind of black iron-ish. And I'm pretty stoked with that. So, Shannon Stevens is here. Dave Harrison, it's not the earlier trend. I just got home from a late shift. Well, thank you for being here regardless. Greg Malone, hi from Des Moines. Laura Moore, I can't post memes here. I show you a swag block. Lighthammer Ford, Deep Rock. Yep. So guys, again, there's going to be, so it's kind of weird because the folks that watch me, there's half of the people that watch me are like reenactors that are not very techno people, and the other half are like super techno people. And the problem is I'm kind of from the latter. I mean, I grew up on the Commodore 64, and so there's all these stupid games we played. Deep Rock Galactic is a new one that we played that's basically dwarves with large guns killing bugs. Stupid, it's ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. So if you hear all these weird expressions, it's most likely coming from a weird game. At least it's not a game called Rust where you wake up naked on the beach with your wiener hanging out. So World of Warcraft streams are fairly hot. I have a kind of a love-hate relationship. I never play. I'm not into the social aspect of the game so much. But I remember when I was at a Renaissance festival and somebody asked me what I did, and I said, "Well, I'm a blacksmith." And they said, "That's cool. I got a blacksmith in World of Warcraft too." I'm like, oh, you bastard, you bastard. Kubla One, much love from Macon. I've been a fan for years, and I just built a shop in my yard and look forward to learning more of you. Well, like I said, Macon's awesome. I didn't get a chance to come to Perry this year. Every year I usually go to the Perry National Fair, which is just south of Macon. For those you don't know, Macon's our big central city here in Georgia. A lot of good folks up there in Macon. 410, what role do you see the modern blacksmith playing? How do we push this craft forward? That's a big question. That is a big question. 410, and that's the kind of question that gets me into trouble, because we have a professional organization known as Abana. Yet even with the rise of Forged of Fire and arguably a renaissance of blacksmithing going on, our professional organization is clearly not doing enough. Now, that's going to get, man, let me tell you, if Buster Grubbs hear me say that, I'm going to get some angry, some upset text messages, but I just feel that way about it. As far as what role that we play, I don't know. For the vast majority of smiths, I don't know what role it does play, to be honest with you. As myself, as a professional, I mean, I get to do artwork. I mean, I am an artist. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. I'm an artist. And it's technically no different from somebody that's doing painting. I do a lot of work that people use, they enjoy, but it's not necessary for survival unless we get hit, the power grid goes down, and we're back to we're back to the Stone Age. Then I get real important, right? That's a big question. That's probably actually a question for its own particular stream. So in short, let me say, I don't know. I simply don't know. And I don't know if, as somebody who cares about it, just by very much like doing this live stream, this is, my part to try to help it on that end of it. I always feel like the professional organizations have a duty and a responsibility, because that's why they collect membership dues. That's their stated purpose. And again, there's a lot of drama there. So yeah. How can we push it forward? Well, for our own sakes, we can be involved. We can support those that are pushing to make it public, because look, the finest thing ever out there isn't worth anything unless it gets out there publicly. So, support the people that are preaching the word. I guess that's one of the best things that I can say there. We vote with our pocketbooks is the best thing. Brent Boots got my book. It's great. Thanks, Brent. Glad you got it. I got a lot of other folks I got to get some books out to this week. All right. Oh, by the way, I know there's 3 of you out there that are getting hammers. We got some fresh handles in the other day, and I am waiting on those handles to dry. They're out cooking right now. I could have sent them last week, but I wanted them to be right. So if you've ordered a hammer here in the past week, like I said, I'm going to try to get them out tomorrow afternoon, if not Wednesday. I just wanted to make sure they were right before they went out. So it was just a little bit of delay. I think everybody that ordered a hammer also ordered a book with it. So just be patient. I want to make sure and get you the good stuff out. Okay. Andre Grenier Jr. is here. Neil Graham Akers recently just bought a bunch of books on 17th through 19th century blades and swords. Very excited to start forging some of the things from the book. That gets complicated quick. There's some really impressive stuff from back there. Veteran Ironwood, have you taken someone's advice on any gun stuff? You know, that's serious because gun stuff's kind of like butt stuff. You just don't take advice from anybody, right? High Desert Forge and Ironworks. Yo, I say you get a yo to you too, sir. Colin, just want to say hi before I go back to bed. Way past my bedtime in the UK. Colin, thank you for coming in, man. So the map to the riches in the back of the book, I haven't made it there yet. Yep, keep looking. That's the whole point of the book. Matthew Hoffman, can you have a blast forge? So a blast forge is a very particular technical term. So you kind of have to explain that because most of the time when you're talking about blast forges, you're talking about giant, huge forges that are normally for melting steel, not necessarily forging steel. Wayne Morey, have you ever, if you ever want to come to Maine, you have a place to crash. I will come to Maine when I don't need a spatula to remove my ass from a park bench seat. So we'll circle back then. Same here. C64. I was laughing. Somebody was talking about Oregon Trail in color, and I'm like, what a youngster piece of trash. Oregon Trail in color. Ha 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 ha. And if you're too young to understand what I'm talking about, you just, ha 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 ha. You'll just have to deal with it. Acres Ridge Forest, Rust might be the most toxic game ever played. Yeah, there are plenty of people that refer to Rust as the asshole simulator. Adam Kerr, waking up naked on a beach, the wiener out sounds like the aftermath of a good time. Not in Rust, because there's usually somebody there trying to pound it with a rock. It's really bad. Lighthammer Forge, question. As a gamer and a smith, do any fun projects out of the shop remotely gaming related? I just finished 2 sheet metal EVE Online emblems on black walnut plaques, pics on Facebook. So, Lighthammer, that's one of the things that I really want to start doing. But, you know, the problem with a lot of the games is there's not a lot of stuff that's not cosplay. I mean, you talk about World of Warcraft. There's nothing really on World of Warcraft you can forge. There's some stuff you can do kind of Skyrim-esque, but most of that stuff is props. It's not really cool stuff. You know, now something like Bannerlord, you've got some historical pieces in there, or you can make something kind of unique, but almost all the stuff that you're going to have there is going to be, you know, prop stuff. But there again, I've been looking at some different things along those lines because I would love to do some more game-related stuff. But, you know, I don't want to be Michael Kaluthu, you know, making a 100-pound sword. Again, all power to the fella, but just not my thing. I mean, I know I do some fun, weird stuff, but that just, it's not me. Not me. All right. Do you know Jerry Darnell of Mill Creek Forge? He does a lot of colonial style work. I don't, and it is probably it's probably a crime that I'm not more familiar with my fellow smiths. You guys got to remember something. You know, it's just like being here on YouTube. YouTube is usually kind of a one-way street for me. At least when it comes to blacksmithing. I don't. You guys watch way more of the blacksmiths than I do, and part of that is because one, I don't want to get an idea from somebody else and film something and step on anybody's toes. So I try to keep it all 100% me and stay in my lane on that end of it. So I don't know a lot of the other blacksmiths around because I'm in the middle of nowhere. Leisure Suit Larry, my God, I remember those 4-pixel boobies from Leisure Suit Larry. You had to imagine real hard. Metal Man Productions. Hi, sir. Hi, everyone. Welcome being here. All right. Ronald Kirby, would you be interested in making a ribbon burn for me? I can't get anything 2400 around here. Mr. Kirby, if you will send me an email at info@purgatoryironworks.com, I will be more than happy to get you set up with something. There are some people, if you'll look up Pine Ridge Burners, that gentleman is kind of top of the pile. They're super expensive. You don't need anything that expensive, but I would encourage you just to peruse. But send me an email and I will see what I can't get you hooked up with, because I probably can find you the right refractory. And if you don't want to fool with it, I'll be glad to take your money. Sky Wiesel, fire attendant question. Do you burn your coal wet? Sky, it depends. Well, most of the time, the answer is yes. The water helps the coal clump and makes it a little bit easier to maintain in the fire. So if you're working any solid fuel fire, honestly, you're going to be using a water can. So the answer is yes. Kubla 1, rust toxicity is only shadowed by League of Legends. That community is so toxic. There's, I wasn't a particular fan of teenage white kids to start with, but it'll make you kill them. Matthew Freer, I'm starting the blacksmithing in the Falkland Islands. How long do you run the coke forge? You have to clean it. You mean the Hawaiian Falkland Islands? Which Falkland Islands are we talking about here? If you know, that's an old Andrew Dice Clay skit. Anyway, so when you're running a forge, it depends. If you're running the coke forge, coke tends to be a lot cleaner. Here, let me turn that. It tends to be a lot cleaner. I got a cat in the way. Kitty, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Not there. Move your ass. Hang on. I'll crank up the volume here just a little bit. I've got this thing cranked down for other purposes. Okay, check. Turn your ass up there, buddy. Come on. Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. A little bit louder. Okay, a little bit louder there. If I still got a cat ass. No, go. This cat don't want you to put hands on Joker, but the moment there's something there to eat, you cannot get their ass off the desk. Okay. Where was I? Coke forge. It's probably, if you're doing a hard burn, probably about every hour you're going to pick a clinker out of the bottom. Depends on the quality of the coke. Certainly depends on the quality of the coal. So, the fucking islands. All right, that should be better on the microphone. I should have had a little bit closer. All right, steel forge. Ever made a straight razor? No, I did make one that was gay one time though. I tried making one a while back. Didn't turn out well. Going to try again when the weather clears. So, I mean, the only thing that a straight razor is, and straight razors aren't typically forged. Excuse me. A straight razor is really made a razor by the type of grind that's on there, not necessarily by the forging. Straight razors are hollow ground specifically because you can get the blade thickness so much thinner, and because there's a thinner blade, you can get a sharper edge. I've done some along those ways before, especially when I've done hollow grinding. But the trick is that every blade that I make is sharp as a razor. So they're all technically razor blades. I just hadn't really forged any in the style of a shaving razor. Okay. Adam Kerr, interesting video idea, Trent. As a blacksmith and a gamer, video game blacksmithing made real. Sword from 2 ingots to stick, breastplate 8 ingots smashed together. I know, right? There was actually a game on Steam not long ago about doing the blacksmithing. I didn't even look at it. Who is a shout out to Kenny? Shout out to Kenny, Trent. Is it Kenny? Trent. Who's Kenny? And is he wearing an orange snow jacket? Okay. Cool one. Do you have a video on making hammer or hatchet handles? No, but they are in the works. I'm going to redo the burning, the dirty. Well, no, I don't. I do not. But I've got that on the list. Got that on the list. That's what I've been doing today. Mike Hodges, I should order your book. Yes, you should. That will give me an opportunity to use my road spike knife to open the box. That's the one use I will approve it for. Jim P., I always enjoyed the blacksmith demonstrations for the homage to the old ways as well as to see the craftsmanship and skills. I suspect this is where modern blacksmithing lives. You know, for a lot of... You know, the most valuable thing for me that's been in blacksmithing is not necessarily the blacksmithing, the way that it makes you think. And I don't think it's specifically to blacksmithing, but when you do this type of work, it makes you it gives you critical skills. I will always trust a craftsman's judgment over the general population because we have to figure things out. We have to deal with facts more often than average people. You know, will this work or will it not work? We live in a world of where we have to not only make an assumption, but then we have to find out the evidence for it. And that's a big thing with me. I put out a video a while back, talked about, you know, epistemology for the blacksmith. How do you know what you know? And somebody that says, I don't know, let me go find out, will always be a superior person to the person who just assumes. So I think there's a lot more value in the mentality than necessarily the craft. Been making more guns than knives lately. Jim Ramsey, I agree that the organization doesn't do enough. The website's beyond useless, and I know that chapters here in California are so fractured that they are worthless. You know, again, Mr. Jim, I'm trying not to let my mouth get me in trouble because I want to love Abana. I really do. Abana was started 20 minutes from my house in a place called Westville. Jay Riekert, the man that taught me, was there when they started. This is my family flag, but boy, it's doing a terrible job. And everybody points fingers at everybody else. Yeah. And nobody can make a constructive criticism. And now in this age when there are so many, you know, here's the deal. I'm not an unknown. Been on the television twice internationally. Got the YouTube following here. I'm not an unknown smith. I am somebody with a public personality. The only people that have ever reached out to me is FABA, the Florida Blacksmiths, and I went down and did a demo. That's it. If you are an organization whose purpose is to publicly extol the virtues of blacksmithing, you invest in people that are getting the message out. That's what you do. That's my job, is to publicly get the message out about blacksmiths. And if you're an organization who takes money and is expressly there for the job of getting that information out and supporting the people that help get that information out, why aren't those people contacted? You know, it's not, again, I don't know how to fix it, so I'm going to shut my mouth. Lighthammer, another question. Though there are already like 50, any thoughts on Purgatory Ironworks Community Facebook group? Would it be fun to hang with y'all and post work sans the fun of the bigger groups? I have actually discussed that with Mr. Switzer from Black Bear Forge. And the problem is you got to understand that, we're trying to, if you do a personal Facebook page, the people are there for you, right? So if you step in to moderate, then you're in the middle of every drama that goes on. And, even right now, I am, burning the candle at both ends just to try to get videos out from everybody. When you start trying to manage a social media empire, it makes it damn difficult. And here's the other thing. Let's say that you just pick some people to be moderators. These people are acting in your stead, and if they screw up, you have to answer for it. And you got a lot of online friends, but there's anybody there that you trust enough not to say something stupid that you're going to be paying for years to come. It's a dangerous thing. And even when we had the Purgatory Ironworks site back in the day, which Lauren Wembley was actually here, was a member of back in the day. The drama was crazy, and it was pointless. I am here to make videos. Now, again, should I have somebody that I eventually trust enough and who wants to do that type of thing, then I'll be glad to do it. But, blacksmithing for beginners and everything else, I mean, there's an army of people that's having to watch comments and deal with jackasses and disagreements, and it's tough. It's a whole other job. And I just don't have the bandwidth to handle it. You died from a snake bite, Oregon Trail. Lost Crow Ironworks, Mountain Blade. Well, Bannerlord is, of course, the part 2 of that. So, Clyde Williams, thoughts on induction forges? Man, I'm gonna tell you, they're the cool thing. I think Mr. John did one here lately. They work if you're only doing something 1 inch wide and straight. I'm sure they may be handy to have, but just they're not a good option. Just flat out. That's kind of like this. And I'm going to tell you something. We've got 2,000 years of blacksmithing technology. I mean, 2,000 years of blacksmithing technology, and everybody's got to come up with some new shit. And I mean, I keep seeing this ceramic chip forge thing come up. The hell are y'all doing? No. That's just, no. And there's going to be that one guy, well, it works. I was able to heat up a piece of metal in it. Fantastic. It still sucks. We have forges for a reason. The induction forge, again, is a super specialized forge, usually for heating very small pieces of metal. It's really not set to what we're doing. Now, if you're a knife maker and you're just doing some super basic stuff, maybe. But I want to tell you something. You are not coming out money ahead when you get that electric bill. No, sir. No, sir. The energy consumption on those things is staggering. So, yeah, it's, again, interesting tool, limited application. Wayne Morey, do you host classes? Speaking of which, I'm going to have some announcements out. So we finally have everything that we need to actually start live broadcasting out of the shop. I know I've been teasing this for a while. Last week, of course, I was working on the house. This Saturday, I will be teaching an online class. It's going to be free for my Patreons. Even if you're at the ramen noodler level of $1, it's going to be free for my Patreons. I think we're going to do a 4-hour class. Like I said, that's what I'm looking at now. I haven't even announced that to my Patreons yet, and we're going to have a couple spaces open. It's kind of going to be a gimme. I think I'm going to charge $10 a slot for 4 hours. And I think I'm going to try to keep the class size to about 30. I got to figure out exactly how many patrons I'm going to have coming into it. But we are actually going to do our first test run of a class this weekend on Saturday. So I'm going to have more information on the website later. It's not up there yet. I'll also announce it here on YouTube and then also on Facebook. So the answer is yes. As far as in-person classes, one of the reasons we've been working on the house is purely so that we can host people here. We don't have any local hotels, so we have to keep everybody here. So as soon as the plague passes, you better believe we're going to be doing classes. But right now, everything's going to be online, and this weekend is going to be the maiden voyage. Baker's Forge. As a kid, we used to change our characters like Wiener, so we laughed when he died of exhaustion. I don't know if a Wiener died of exhaustion, man. That was what a noble death. Kubla Wan, are there any Smiths that are local to Macon? My brother's girlfriend's stepdad's sister's cousin from Gray was on Forged in Fire, but sadly passed away recently. Kubla, who was that? That wasn't Buster Grubbs, was it? Neil Graham, well, time for dinner. Great evening. Neil, thank you for being here. Adam Kerr, asking a Smith they know Jimmy from Hammer and Anvil Forge is like asking a Canadian, do you know Joe from Canada? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Matt Wath from Australia. What is your favorite thing to forge and why? I'm not very good at it, but I really enjoy making tongs, like super specialized tongs, because they are that OCD satisfying thing that you have a particular problem and you make a particular tool that solves that problem. So I don't think there's any more bliss that I have than making a pair of tongs that perfectly fits what I'm working on. It's awesome stuff. Provo, I'm thinking of trying my hand at armor forging. Can you suggest any books on the subject? I can. Uno momento, por favor. Let's see. There is an excellent book. Yep. Okay, let's see. Copy. I put that in chat. It is known as The Techniques of Medieval Armor Reproduction, the 14th Century, by a guy named Brian Price. It's going to be expensive, usually about $150, but it is worth every penny. It is an excellent, excellent book. Ronald Kirby, sounds good. I'll get with you late. Good for me, Mr. Ronald. All right, we're going do. Holy crap, I am so far behind the comments. I thought I was keeping up with everything. Metal, let's see. Metalland, Trenton, if you could only forge one thing forever, what would it be? Bronze. I love forging bronze. It just moves so much easier than most of the steels. Just start selling out and do ads for Raid Shadow Legends. They'll toss money at anyone on YouTube. Who didn't give me $5? Roy, is that you? Who? Man. Thank you, Roy. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Roy's got all that YouTube money. Everybody's beating my ass when it comes to views. All right. Now, one thing I want to bring up with Mr. Roy here, and guys, and again, I've got to do, he's given me $5. So what Roy has done is he's paid me $5 to promote Christ-Centered Ironworks on YouTube. He's a great guy. Go to his channel and subscribe, and I'm going to need enough of you to subscribe to be worth $5. That's how this racket works, right? Thank you, dude. All right. My God, I'm so far behind in the comments. All right, I'm getting there. I'm going through there. Flux the cat. Okay. Kubla Wan, any chance you give out your Steam name so fans could play with you? Kubla, it's not difficult. It's Purgatory Ironworks. Every now and then I get nobody knows who the hell a blacksmith is on team. It's Purgatory Ironworks. So Eminem, not getting notifications. Eminem, you have to check your settings. There's like a global notification button you have to hit. So all right, let's see. Your microphone needs a set of truck balls. The last thing that I want hanging in front of my face is a round object with a set of balls hanging there. It's not a good look, dude. It's not a good look. Mike Hodges, just order your book. Now I can use my Rhodes spike knife. Mr. Mike, thank you. I don't know what the hell. What is this? I don't know what Lauren's doing. Mark Blosser, place is looking sharp. You should be proud. No, what I'm proud of, Mr. Mark, is that big ass TV I've got to do chat with. So, guys, I have to point Mr. Mark out. One of the live streams we were doing from the shop, of course, I could not read the chat because we didn't have a big enough screen. Mr. Mark is going to be the reason that I can actually answer live chat in the shop. He actually sent a nice TV down here for us to use. So, everybody needs to thank Mr. Mark, and I thank Mr. Mark very, very much. Thank you. Wayne Morey, Trent, I just remembered that it was your video that got me off my ass and started foraging. Well, good. That's why I do those videos, man. Brandon Jukelin, do you know of anywhere to send a sample of mystery steel to have it analyzed at a price that would make it worth doing? Brandon, that's going to be one of those situations where the answer is no. To have that stuff tested like that is always going to be expensive. The only thing that you might be able to do, go to your local junkyard, your scrap yard. A lot of times, or you can call them and ask them, they will oftentimes have an x-ray gun, and they can zap it. They may charge you a little bit, but tell them what you're looking to do, and a lot of times they'll help you out that way. That's the only way you're going to get around that. Somebody didn't give me some money. Who gave me money? Who didn't drop me? Mark. Thank you, man. I'm going to have to start making Mark breakfast in bed. This is not good. This is not good at all. Metal Man Productions, are all those tools real on your wall? If I do, wow. Metal Man, the answer is yes. And I'll tell you what, I know everybody's kind of excited about this. I'm going to move this over here. Of course, I have people saying it's a green screen. But, let's see if I can do this real quick without screwing things up here. I'm going to have to reset everything. Can we zoom this out? This is rather difficult to do here. This is the entirety of the room. I have not finished this side yet. There's the big old smacker hammer. And this is not the lens to be doing this with. But this is the whole room. It's pretty good stuff. I'm going to have some pictures up of the rest of the house. If you think this room is impressive, wait till you see the rest of the house. Things is looking pretty dang good, if I do say so myself. Now, I am certain. Now, look. I don't have the tripod yet. So, the only way I can adjust the camera is by packing stuff under the lens. So, I don't want anybody to give me any shit. Because this Death Star is fully operational. Somebody else didn't give me money. Who else didn't give me money? Thanks, Provo. $2. What's the book PMP to UK roughly? Dave, it is usually going to be about, all together, I think it's about $40 with shipping and the book. It's usually about $20 to get it across the pond. All right, let's see here. Wow, I'm so far behind. All right, getting on down there. Trent, that sounds remarkably like every single martial arts federation I've ever encountered. It's the nature of any group. If you don't have, and I hate to say this, guys, again, I believe everybody should have a say. I believe everybody should have a vote. But when it comes to getting something done, democracy is the worst damn thing that you could possibly do. If you want to guarantee something to screw up, send it to a committee. It's one of the same things I've encountered here. Every time I've tried to include a group to get something done, it never happens. So, I am, believe it or not, I'm a former executive for Habitat for Humanity, a charity, which exactly what Abana is. And the level of screwery that can go on that end is staggering. So it's really hard to point a finger, and that's kind of the point, The older I get, the more I like dictatorships. It's terrible. Brad McCormick, been fun. I got to go. Keep up the great videos. Completely agree with your thoughts on blacksmithing organizations. Thank you, Brad, for being here. Jim Ramsey, spent years looking for a class here in SoCal. Can never find anything local until about a year ago where I saw a class at a local community college on weekends. Jim, look up Adams Forge. I think it's in LA. Adams Forge is I think Ms. Heather McClarty runs that along with some other folks. I think it's a good program. Kubla One, as a 24-year-old, I find it difficult to find apprenticeships from anyone due to my lack of experience. Following along your videos is the closest I can get. Kubla, I'm going to tell you something. Here's the problem. Outside of myself, Mr. Dillon up in North Georgia, and I think John Smith over in Savannah, we're it as far as professionals. So you're apprenticing to a hobbyist who probably really isn't a good smith. So most of the time it's just somebody that don't want to put up with you in their own shop. I hate to say that, but that's the way it is. And I've got, especially when I go to a show, I've got tons of people that always are wanting to help in the shop. And that's a whole other video. I'll see if I can't, I'll address that topic again in an upcoming video, specifically because you brought it up. I need to leave myself a note here. But there's a reason for that, and there's a way to go about actually helping somebody and getting in there. Let's see, where's my damn video list? Come on now. Notes list. Where's my videos to film? See, I'm old and I have to make a list. How to apprentice. That'd be a great shop tip. Great shop tip. This is how I make my money. I steal all of your questions. Holy crap. Thanks, Roy. Roy's got all that internet money. All right. Mike Hodges, saw John Swisher's video on the induction forge. It's a cool toy, but not that practical. Yeah, I saw where Mr. John put that video up too, and that was my thought as well. It's going to be a cool toy, just not, yeah. Okay. Let's get on down here. Mark Blosser, can you sometimes show working with 52100? It's a bear to work with, heat treat, lava's fine bearings, but have a hard time using it. Mark, I actually had this conversation today. I had a fan call and spoke a little bit on that end of it. Everybody's after these super high-end alloy steels because they're cool and they sell. But, when you are actually doing this work, one of the reasons that we also buy steel that's in the right size is because we can't spend the time to reduce it to stock. If I didn't have a hydraulic press, I would never bother with these bearings that I have because it would take hours to beat a damn bearing into a proper stock size. A press makes that makes that easy on that end of it. So, but I'll be glad to do one of those videos. 52100, again, it's just one of those high-end alloy steels. And, it's, for me, D2, 52100, 80 CRV, all of these exotic steels fall into the same pile of advanced. Because if you have a proper digitally controlled heat treat oven, you have the proper mechanical hammer or press to work it, then you can work all that. But it's the tooling that allows you to work it effectively. If you don't have these tools, you're not going to work it effectively no matter what you do to it. So no matter how much technique that you have, it's just not going to work. Again, I go back to the wrench theory. No matter how good you are with a wrench, You're not going to turn a 5mm nut with a 20mm wrench. It's just not going to happen. You've got to have the right tooling. And once you have the right tooling, you're good to go. Mark, you're a Patreon, right? So I think yeah. I'll have the announcement out there. So all Patreons, again, even the ramen noodler, the $1 levels are getting in on this one. So Mark Spice, will the classes be a forge along or sit and watch job? Mark, I suppose that's going to depend on everybody watching. Because now, of course, one of the appeals about this is going to be the fact that people can ask questions. So most likely we may end up doing a forge along. Those are questions we're going to have to answer when we get there. This is some, along with the rest of the country, we're figuring out how to make classes over Zoom. So that's where we are. Mickey Thompson, Buster's still going strong. I was with him last week, and good. Like I said, it scared me there. Buster's the one I have to watch about saying anything about the Okmulgee Blacksmithing Guild. I had some. Again, they weren't ugly, but I was not impressed by their showing at Madison. And Buster liked to eat me alive, so I got some ugly text messages from him. He's a good man, though. Let nobody say anything against Buster Grubbs. He is a good man. Zachary Siders. I'm a very new smith in a number of places online. I've heard repeatedly, have you checked with your local Urbana affiliate for questions I've had? And frankly, I have and never responds. Zach, I'm going to, man, y'all are running me into a corner. That's not an uncommon response. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen that response. Yeah. Now, the plural of anecdotes isn't evidence, but I'm going to tell you, by far in general, that's the most common complaint that I've heard, because I've always sent everybody to their local Urbana chapter because they are literally the people responsible for spreading the craft. That is Mother Church. And it has not been good. It's not been good. Lighthammer, that book looked freaking cool. I think it's available from the publisher on Etsy or some such. Yeah. Veteran Ironwood, $150 for one book. I don't feel so bad about dropping $300 at tool sections. Now, veteran, again, the fact that you are veteran means that you haven't been to college in a while, and $150 for a textbook is light. Light. It's man, what a racket. What a racket. Sky Beasel, speaking of tongs, where's the video? You mentioned some of your older versions about 1/2 by 1 inch bar. I have some A36 now, just need the instruction. Sky, that was on the schedule for this week. And again, I have been filming it today had it not been for the tornado. So we're going to have some tong videos. Well, we're going to have a drift making video because we got to get the drift done. And then we're going to do some initial tongs. So Mickey Thompson. Yeah, I know Mickey Thompson. How about that? Lauren's out of here. A quick Google here says it's $567. Wow. All right, looks like everybody's hanging it up this end. Flux with Roy was summon. Zach, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm trying to get through the rest of these comments. I promise I'm just not drooling. Forget to talk sometimes. It's like everybody's headed out. So my son is in college and dropped $300 for one book. That's when you let a child learn how to make $300 the hard way. James Wheatley, thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing more. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Well, guys, like I said, we've got at this right in an hour. Look at that. So I think we're good to go there. Good. Thank you. Rusty Hubcap Forge is new. haven't seen Rusty here before. So, but like I said, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up right there. Again, had it not been for the tornado, we'd have had some fresh videos out. We have tongs coming out this week, along with several other shop tips and things of this nature. So we're going to have some good stuff. And hopefully, if I can get through cleaning everything, I'm going to have everybody have a little bit of a tour of the house as we have been working on it and all that kind of good stuff. So anyway, guys, again, thank you all so much. You know, this is the first time I've really got to sit down and do the live streams from the office here, and this is pretty good. I'm still waiting on some tripods and a little bit of better lighting, all that kind of good stuff. We're looking a little drawn out here, but things are awesome. I still gotta kind of, we got some jiggly here. We got a little bit of dangling going on. I've got to fix that and go from there. But I got this cool clamp. This is an anti-dangle clamp. So we're going to get the anti-dangle clamp working here. So we got some cool toys. But anyway, so guys, look here. Y'all be good. Be safe out there. There's some crazy winter weather out there, so y'all stay warm. And I will catch you guys a little bit later. So see ya. Be good. Thank y'all for the money. Thank y'all very much.